Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Sorry it's been such a long time, but I'm back now, and today we're going to be painting these terrain piece barrels. Now, I've already sprayed them in a grey colour, just a primer. And then we've used a technical called corrosion just to cover the barrels and give them a more rusty metallic look. Hear that? These barrels are 3D printed by myself, and if you like them, they're available on my website, which I will link in the description below. But let's get on with the video, shall we? So I thought today I would paint a few of them in different colours. We're going to do some blues and some reds and possibly some yellows, but I've had bad experiences with painting yellow before. It takes a long time to look any good, so we might skip that, but I'm not sure. Okay, so we're going to start with, I think, these two blues. One's going to be the base colour, which is going to be this Cawdor Sky, and then we're probably going to dry brush or highlight it with a lighter blue to give it that depth. So I haven't used these paints in a long time, so I'm half expecting them to have dried up and become essentially useless. So I'm not using a pad today. I'm just going to paint directly onto the I'm using a chopping board to mix my colours and keep my table clean. So let's start with these. I think this one of these ounce barrels here could do a good blue, and then we'll move to one of the inner ones, I think, as well. Now, the good thing or bad thing about necessarily about 3D printed products is that they come with this texture around, I don't know if you can see it, along, which gives it a less smooth, obviously, look, which can be good for certain things and obviously bad for other things. This uses a method of 3D printing called FDM, so quite fast, very cheap, cheap, and reasonably good detail. I can also use a resin printer to print them in higher detail, but it does take a little bit longer and the material is a bit more expensive, and seeing as we're not using these in game, just on a home game board, so to speak, I wasn't too worried about super fine detail, but it is possible to do it. I'm running out of paint. This blue is a lovely blue. I really like this blue compared to, well, the other Games Workshop blues like Macragge, which is okay, but this is a much richer blue, I feel. We're just gonna keep painting along the edge. I'm not too worried about going onto the floor or the other barrels, really, because we'll just paint over those, and with the floor I'm going to paint over that at the end. I'm just going to go over it quickly at the end with some light dry brushing and back over it with some grey as well, just over the bits where I've gone over with the technical paint. So I'm not too worried if I go over the line, so to speak, at the moment, but it does help if you're a little bit careful with these paints just along the edge of the barrels. And what you'll see, as well as once they've been painted in this base colour and been suitably aged up, we will use a small amount of a metallic, probably silver, I would say, to give it that scratched look underneath. So we'll do that last, I think, and that's a very delicate process, because if you use too much, it doesn't look right, and if you don't use enough, then it doesn't look real. So there is even though it is only just terrain, you do want it to look reasonably similar to your models. So we are going today to just probably paint these ones up. I mean, what I might do is come back on another day, depending on how quick it takes for these paints to dry, and do the rest of the video, or maybe do it in 2 parts. We'll see. But for now, we will just paint where we can and what we can. Okay. Yeah. See? And without this texture, it wouldn't look right. It would look a bit too smooth, a bit too perfect, I think. And the lines of the 3D prints would show a bit as well. So, but this all sort of glues it and holds it together a bit, which is nice. So I think we'll start. Yes, we'll have two blues for now, I think, and move on to another. I'm not going to use and move on to another colour. So the next colour we're going to use is this blood red. Now I was debating on using a darker red to go over the base colour with, but I think what I might do is use this bright red and use a sort of orangey pink, maybe, to highlight it instead. It just gives it more of that sort of fuel barrel or fire barrel. That's my fridge. Turn that off. So we're going to use a little bit of water again, just to water our paints. Now remember, thinning your paints is one of the most important things you can do when painting miniatures. If it goes on too goopy, it sort of takes out the detail of what you're. So these raised edges here would become invisible, basically. And if it's too watery, it won't stick to the mold properly, and you'll get gaps, and you'll get it just won't look very good either. So this could do with a couple of coats, I think, so we might go back to it after we painted another barrel. What you'll find is that lighter colours tend to be slightly more transparent, and this was the problem that I was having with yellow, that the colour was so transparent and so translucent that you didn't get a nice solid layer. Yeah, you got like the undercoat, the base coat was showing through, and then when you try to paint over it again and do layer upon layer, it'd become uneven and look a bit lumpy. soapy and goopy after about 4 or 5 coats, and then you get this. You'd also get this very strange. Well, I got this very strange effect where you could see it was translucent, transparent, whatever you want to say, underneath the. So you could see underneath the paint. God. I'm sorry about that. I'm currently filming in my office, so it's in the city centre, and you can't predict when stuff like that's going to happen, unfortunately. But hopefully it wasn't too loud for you. I might go back in the edit and see if I can clean that up. Anyway, so as I was saying, we had this effect where you could see underneath the yellow, but at the same time it was, the layers were getting so thick that they were starting to obscure the detail. It was driving me round the bend. Honestly, it was driving me insane. So, this is the reason why we might not do any yellow this time, which is a bit, but we could do some green actually, thinking about it. That would be quite a good colour, so we might do some green. Keep going with this. Be careful not to go over the blue. Already painted. See, that's starting to dry already, even though it wasn't a particularly thick coat of paint. Go back over this a bit. Be very careful not to touch the other models. Try and turn it this way a bit so I can get to it. I'm sorry if you can't see this angle particularly well. The problem is I'm trying to film with a camera or a phone, semi-obscuring my vision of the model, so sometimes in my first couple of videos at least, I sort of filmed with it over here, trying to look at it underneath the camera, and realising when it came to posting the actual video that I filmed the entire thing and painted an entire model completely out of camera shot. I think this time I've got the angle reasonably okay. Oh no, we got a little bit on the blue. Look. Oh, I'll have to go back over that. At least that was the first one we painted, so it's probably going to be dry soon. Go back over this, and then move on to. I'll go over that blue very quickly, and then we'll probably move on to a green. Yeah, let's move on to a green, and then I think maybe just a couple of solid silver ones, or maybe leave them this rusty colour and just dry brush a very, very faint, maybe grey, like a silvery grey onto it. Maybe that would work. We'll give that a go. But let's start with just washing this brush. Wiping our brush. Just dip it quickly into this blue while it's still wet and still fresh, and just go back over that red there. There we go, we got it, and we didn't get it on the bread either. So, should we start with let's start with a green, shall we? Let's go with a green. I think we're going to use Warpstone Glow, and these are all Citadel paints. So we can essentially, we're going to get the same colour, the same layer depth, the same sort of pastel colour that you get from them. These are all acrylic as well, water-based paints, so you can get any on your. That's a bit much water, a bit too if you get any of your clothes or on the table or on the carpet, it does wash out relatively easily. A bit of soapy water should do the trick. Unfortunately, I used to paint with enamels and dropped a Revel lid. I don't know if you ever used the Revel paints, but I dropped a lid of the Revel paints, which are an enamel-based paint, so an oil-based paint, onto the carpet of my parents' house when I was still living there, and basically caused a little bit of damage. My parents were suitably annoyed, but they got it repaired on the insurance and all was well, and I learnt to never paint with enamel paints, especially, but in general paint where there's carpet. You did miss a little bit of the technical colour, just on this corner here and on the back, and you'll be able to see the difference. The difference between the two textures when we finish. I do have an idea actually for something I can do in a minute, but I will let you in on that when we're done. Okay. And one more, I think. I'll wipe that off. I think, which green one should we do? Blue and green should not be seen unless there's a colour in between, which there isn't, and they're all next to each other. Brilliant. So, eeny, meeny, miny, moe, catch a tinker by its toe. If it squeals, let it go. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe. This one is also going to be green. Now, as I sort of said earlier, I did take a bit of a break from filming, even though I hadn't actually filmed that many videos, partly because I was still at university studying and I didn't have much time, and I was living in a house that wasn't particularly quiet. Not that this office seems to be any quieter, but I was filming in a house which wasn't particularly quiet at all times, and I was doing my studies and I was trying to earn some money, so just didn't really have the time or the passion to get back into this. But recently I have started my own 3D printing business, and I felt that it would go hand in hand with the videos that I'm doing. And so instead of relying on other models like Games Workshop, I'll still do some Warhammer models, but I think a lot of them I might just do my own designs, my own prints, and paint them on here and sort of show you how to paint them, so that if you buy them yourselves, you can either follow along with my painting tutorial or do it yourself, do it your own way, but at least there's a bit of a link between the two. I'm not saying that's the only reason I started filming again. I did kind of miss it. I've been watching a lot of ASMR recently, and it has got me back into the idea of painting. Oh dear. Whoopsie daisy. I'm going to have to paint over that again. Wash my brush. I think we're coming to the 20-minute mark, and these aren't drying particularly quickly, so I will post this video and then I will wait for these to dry, come back the next day, film part 2, which will be probably the same length because there's a lot less painting involved, but it's a little bit more detailed. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.